I need to give some pretext. Um, when I moved to Ecuador, I started YouTubing about it, right? About the country, about the places to visit, travel content really, and some informational stuff. And the channel picked up followers. I got a couple of thousand followers. It opened some doors. I started getting invitations to cafes and restaurants to make videos, and that was fun, quite gratuitous. But then I started getting asked to help with charities, and I've really enjoyed it. I've really got so much out of it because I was going to these charities that were doing incredible work for local people, but they didn't really have any English speakers, and all their materials were in Spanish. So they were struggling to connect with the local gringo community, right? So there's thousands, tens of thousands of mostly Americans living in Ecuador. Those Americans want to help, either with money or with time and energy, but they were not connecting because of language. So I basically offered to be a bridge between them and translate all of their materials and create a kind of little documentary about every charity in English with subtitles and built a community of gringos who wanted to help. And it really, really worked. And I started getting recurring donations, some big one-off donations, and the money was coming in and I was redistributing it to local charities. And it was all just going amazingly. And at the same time, um, the tourism board contacted me to help with a little town in the jungle in the Amazon, in the rainforest, I say. They wanted help. Now, this is a town of like I don't know, maximum 5,000 people. It's very small. It's called Limon in Danza and it's beautiful. And they basically said, come here, we'll put you up and we'll give you a private tour of all of the wonderful things we have. We've got waterfalls and we've got downhill mountain biking and we've got lovely little cafes and restaurants, but we're really in the jungle and we want more tourists, but nobody's talking about us. So will you help? And I said, yes, I will help. I don't want anything in return. I will do as much help as I can just because you've asked me and nobody else asked me. And when I went there, I fell in love with the place. And the people are absolutely incredible. Still friends with them to this day. Um, there's just some f fantastic people there. Jimena, who ran this kind of scheme, bringing me in. She's just a wonderful creative artist. And through her, I met loads of people in town who became my friends. And one of them, he basically has an adventure company that does Amazon tours for caving expeditions. And they do like one big expedition a month, about 15 people. And it's paid and it's expensive. And the month before I went, Will Smith did it, the Will Smith. And so everyone was talking about how Will Smith came to town, and loads of people had photos of him with him, and it was like the big news in Ecuador was Will Smith came to Ecuador, and in this little town, it was like the biggest thing ever. So it was really cool, but it's a very expensive trip, and I'm very lucky to have done it for free. But there's a catch, right? It was a charitable expedition. Now, the cave system, the Cueva de los Tallos, is like an oil bird. Tallos is it's a pretty ugly bird that makes a horrible noise, and they live in caves. And so the cave is full of these birds. And there's a Shuar, which is an indigenous tribe. A Shuar tribe protects the entrance to the caves, stops, I don't know, poachers or unwanted people. So for access to the cave, you have to appease the tribe, and the tribe are terribly poor, and they don't have access to internet or electricity. They don't have running water. They don't have clothes and great food and stuff. So they really live a very challenging life. About 8 hours. It's about an 8 hour journey from civilization to get to them. It's a couple of hour drive to where the road ends. It's an hour on canoes into the Amazon, and then a 5 hour trek to get to their village. Now we did this with 2 tons of donated materials 15 people. We each went out with a mission to get donated materials. My job, which I offered to do, was for schooling, school equipment. I managed to stock the school for 2 years worth of materials, of books and pens and other kind of rulers and school equipment. And again, that was all helped through the charity network, paid for by donors. And most incredible thing. So we took all this stuff on canoes, and at the other end of the canoes there were horses and villagers waiting for us to help get this stuff. But we were carrying so much stuff. I mean, it was 5 hours carrying a lot of weight. It was so hard. It was an unbearable. And the some of the hills like this, and it's muddy jungle. You take 2 steps forward, you slide three back. It's incredible. Once we got to the village, we did like a 5 hour ceremony with them and played games and gave them the donations. It was amazing. And then they finally let us to the caves, and we got in there about 10 p.m. I think is a 150-meter drop. There's no that you cannot walk into the cave. The cave is a huge opening in the ground that drops 150 meters. The only way in is to rappel in, to abseil in. And it's terrifying. It's one of the scariest moments of my life because if anything went wrong, I was dead. Um, but we got in there. It took a couple of hours to get 15 people in there through that on the abseil, and then another hour hike inside the cave, another rappel inside, all the way to the end to get to the campsite, which was in a gigantic cavern like the size of a football stadium. And there are harmless spiders and scorpions in there that are white. They've never seen light. Um, and some translucent other insects. It was incredible. But the whole time, there's this awful sound, rah, rah, and it's thousands of oil birds screeching. Then you've got the bats, and oh my God, and it stinks in there, but it's so adventurous. Then you've got like some cracks in the caves that create natural showers, so you are able to shower and clean yourself in there. We took food. We had a chef. We took a chef, a local cook, so we were well fed. But inside the cave is about I believe 5 kilometers deep, and you can do a loop trek, but it's no loop you could even imagine. You're down, you're up, you're sliding through holes. You got to climb up waterfalls. There's gigantic granite steps 4 kilometers underground. It's absolutely ridiculous. Neil Armstrong went there. There's a very famous picture of him with a stalagmite, and everybody recreates the photo. And yeah, we were in there for 2 nights, 3 days, and in the dark. We just had our head torches. There's no natural light in there. It's it's very disorienting. It's hard to sleep. You have no idea what time it is, and they encourage you not to check your watch. Don't check the time. It's the most incredible adventure. And then at the end, you do it all in reverse. You hike out, you climb up, you get out, and it's a wonderful feeling getting out. And then you have a several-hour jungle trek back to the river, back to the canoes, back to the truck, back to the city, and then it all feels like a dream. And it takes a few days to kind of readjust. But it was arguably one of the best adventures, well, 100% one of the best adventures of my life. Um, yeah, I couldn't recreate it if I tried. It was organic, it came through sheer goodwill. The invitation came through my charitable efforts, and I'm very, very grateful that we were able to do it and help that tribe as well. I think I've pretty much covered the whole story there, but the video of it was a bit of a fail. So I was doing this YouTubing because I got the video up to the cave and after the cave, but nothing in the cave because I couldn't record a thing in there. It was way too dark.